Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Titlali, and per usual, whenever I can do a live, it's usually in my car because it's the time I have to run errands, touch bases with everybody. Anyway, I just wanted to say hi. I wanted to let you know about a few things that I have coming up this month and next month. So basically, this month I have two things. Yeah, I have two things coming up this month, right? I have a free class called E-DECOLONIZE, in which I'm going to have a guest who is going to teach us on Taino history. She's going to teach us an introduction to Taino history. That's going to be Sunday, November 14 at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So join me live on YouTube. It's going to be 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are going to learn Taino history. I have mainly focused my studies on Mexican history, Mesoamerican history, mainly colonial Mexican history. So I'm very limited to when it comes to, talking about other nations. So which is why I dedicate my channel into, you'll see I have different guests come and teach on different topics. But this is something that I've been wanting to learn for a long time, which is introduction to Taino history. Taino history is really important. Taino people are the people that were in the Caribbean when Columbus invaded. So they were at the vanguard, at the forefront, right, upon the invasion of Abya Yala, of the entire so-called Western Hemisphere. So that's coming up. That's Sunday, November 14th. And then I have a workshop that I'm putting together. This is going to be actually a private workshop. This is a private workshop for those who are new to organizing, for those who need more ideas, need a little bit more guidance with organizing. And the actual title of the workshop is called Activism 101, How to Organize Without Machismo and Ego Tripping. That's the name of my workshop. And why is it called that? Because for the last 25 years that I have been an activist, what are two of the biggest downfalls of activism are machismo and ego tripping. And machismo, I will tell you that it encompasses misogyny, it encompasses anti-LGBTQ, anti-two-spirit, philosophies and ideologies, and aggression and violence, and ego tripping, right? And so in my, in part of my purpose is to share information that might help people, that might help you avoid certain situations, let my lessons help you not go through that shit. Yeah, ego tripping. Ego, like self-centered tripping, not ego flying. That'd be cool. That'd be a cool class to teach. No, this class is about how to organize without machismo and ego tripping, self-centerism, individual thinking, tripping. And so the workshop is going to be a private workshop from 12 to around 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be held through Zoom. And this is going to be, the workshop is going to be Saturday, November 20. It's a private workshop. I am asking for a fee. If you go to my link tree here on TikTok, you'll find the registration. And basically, I'm not doing it for the public. It's not free to the public because it's crucial information that I'm sharing that I am not going to be, promoting out there, because as you'll be in the classroom and they're in the workshop, you'll know why it's important for me not to disclose it like that. But yes, so it's a 2.5 hour workshop meant for people who are new to organizing, want more guidance, want to be able to not get exhausted and preserve your mental health as an organizer. So let me tell you some of the things that are going to happen in that workshop. I'm trying to hit 6 areas in that workshop. Number 1, introduction to activism. Number 2, basics of activism, right? What is activism? What are the different forms of activism? With the woo. Number 3, how do you go about planning an action, what is needed, how do you deal with the city, how do you deal with permits. We're going to get into how to avoid ego tripping, right? I mean, because organizing, it's a human element, right? Anytime you're in a situation with different people, you're going to clash with some folks, right? That shit happens all the time. It happens at work, it happens at school, it happens at home. That's fucking normal. But the danger of ego tripping in an organization is when you get all these people who want to be the ones to call shots, who want to be the bossy ones, who want to tell people what to do, how to do it, when to do it. They want to micromanage people in organizations. So we're not about that shit no more. We got to get over that. Anyway, so we're going to get into how to avoid ego tripping. We're going to get into how to avoid and dismantle machismo within organizing. And I forgot to mention, we're going to get into all the basics of organizing, right? So first and foremost, what is an action? How do you plan an action, right? How do you write a press release? How do you send out a press release? We're going to get into how do you deal with the city? Do you need a permit for this action or don't you need a permit? How do you deal with the police? How do you deal with counter protesters? How do you deal with people that are possibly trying to infiltrate your action? Right? Those are the things we're going to be talking about. And then more seriously, we're going to get into machismo. We're going to get into what does organizing look like when you're not perpetrating patriarchy, misogyny, and these lateral oppressive behaviors and attitudes. What happens when you remove that shit, right, from your organizing? How are you able to thrive? What happens to the mental like psyche of those organizers? Because let me tell you, being an activist for 25 years, I have seen this shit happen all the time. I went through it, right, in the organization that I belong to. And so many people give up, right? It's so fucking hard sometimes to deal with people's egos, especially women, women or those of us identified as femme or women. The type of shit that goes on in organizing circles and organizations is so bullshit. It's such a taxing, activity that a lot of my women femme relatives just fucking give up. They're like, fuck this shit, right? And so getting into the anti-LGBTQ, getting into the anti-two-spirit is like in an organization, in an action. It could be nonprofit or not. It doesn't matter, right? What I'm talking about is when a group of people come together to organize, when a group of people come together to change something, right? That's what the whole thing is. And in the workshop, we're going to talk about all of that, right? And at the end, I'm really excited about this, right? I'm really excited about this because at the end, we're actually, all of us in that workshop are going to put to action what we learned. So we're going to have hot seats, right? So we're going to get into, I'm going to give people time to get themselves together for their part of the action, right? And I don't want to give it away, but it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. And because I think the most fun, the best thing about workshops is when you get to do it yourselves, hands-on, right? When it's a hands-on approach to learning something, you learn faster. You learn quicker, you learn more efficiently because you've been challenged to do the damn thing, right? It's like, all right, you learned this, let's do this. So that workshop is coming Saturday, November 20, and I'm going to record it only for those in attendance. If you register, and I am charging for this, by the way, if you register, you get 7 days to view the entire workshop. And then, and I'm not going to make it for the public. I might do it every month, depending on what people ask for and if there's a big need for it. But it's basically, it's all the lessons that I've learned as an organizer. Had I known better, I would have avoided a lot of bullshit. There's so much drama sometimes that I just think back and I'm like, I wasted so much time on this shit, on this person, on this activity. I'm trying to get this shit so I'm trying to give you shortcuts. I'm trying to give you wisdom that's going to help you navigate these spaces without getting morally, mentally, physically exhausted, right? Because I think at the end of the day, the biggest part of being an activist is how do you become an activist, or how do you remain an activist and not get demoralized or not get exhausted or not burn out, right? So there's so many things that we're going to talk about. So that is the two things that are happening this month in November. And then in December, I'm really excited for this because, for those of you who do not know, I am a historian, I am a poet, I am an activist, and recently I started creating autonomous courses, which means that I actually have a BA and MA and master's degree in history. I actually went through the training for Los Angeles Community College District on how to teach in a community college setting. But because of the pandemic, because I was pregnant during this whole craziness, the hiring was horrible for community colleges. There was a freeze. So I said, you know what? I need to get paid. I need to feed my child. I'm going to create these courses. And that's what I ended up doing. This year, I created private courses through E-DECOLONIZE. I still teach a free class every month. But as an autonomous educator, I created a free course. A private course, a few private courses where they're basically like 3 to 5 week long classes that you take with me through Zoom. And I teach you as I would if I were to be teaching at LA College, Los Angeles Community College. Like, that's what I'm bringing to the table, right? And I love teaching this way because you don't have to have a high school diploma. You don't need to register and pay all these fucking crazy fees to be in my class. Yes, I do charge because it's labor and it's a job, and this is how I'm choosing to sustain myself for now, and my family. But yes, you're not having to be part of that whole bureaucracy, right? So I'm teaching this to be able to make it accessible, right? Because not everyone could go to college, not everyone cares to go to college, and this information is not even given to or available in college. So what I do in those courses is kind of summarize the 25 years of knowledge that I have and that I continue to gain in ways that are easy to understand. I use tons of visuals. I use multimedia. I use an interdisciplinary approach. So I bring in anthropology, linguistics. I bring in archaeology. I bring in all the fields to help us better understand the topics, right? So I'm going to teach a 3-week course on women of Mesoamerica. It's going to be the first 3 Saturdays of December. And then I'm going to be teaching 4 Wednesdays of December. The first 4 Wednesdays of December, I'm going to be teaching decolonial history of Mexico. So those are the 2 classes that are coming in December. If you want to sign up, you can go to my link tree here on my TikTok and you can register. The entire syllabus is there. The breakdown is there. What the classes are going to be about, the setup, the structure, my approach, the course objective, everything is there. So those are essentially, I have 4 things that I have organized now through the end of the year, which is fucking already next month. So it's my free class, which is E-DECOLONIZE, on Sunday, November 14, from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. on YouTube. You just find my channel, Mexican Excellence, on YouTube. And I have a guest who's going to be giving us an introduction to Taino history. Okay. Number 2, I have a private workshop called Activism 101, How to Organize Without Machismo and Ego Tripping. That's coming November 20. That is private, right? So if you want to be part of that, you have to register and pay the registration fee through my link tree. And that's going to happen November 20, 12 to 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to have fun. It sounds like it's a lot. It is a lot, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Those of you who have taken my classes, you know that I bring high energy, that I'm serious about my shit, that we have fun in my classes, and it's interactive as fuck. So that's November 20. Now, the last 2 classes I'm going to be teaching this year are going to be, like I mentioned, the first 3 Saturdays of December. I'm teaching Women of Mesoamerica. The first Saturday, we're going to get into women of the ancient Americas, which is, we're going to get back to thousands and thousands of years ago. We have to understand and meet our ancestors, right? The second Saturday of Women of Mesoamerica, we're going to get into Nahua women of the sacred world. Nahua meaning Nahuatl speaking women of the sacred world. And what I'm talking about is the 14th and 15th century Mesoamerica, right? So we're going to explore the different presence that we have of women of Mesoamerica in the sacred realm. So that includes Coyolxauhqui, that includes how women were seen as warriors, right? When we talk about childbirth, the different places that they had in the sacred world. And then class number 3 for women of Mesoamerica, it's going to be, this is a tongue twister, right? It's roles, like the different roles that we played, wars, which is guerra, and worlds, and words come together. So in that last class of Women of Mesoamerica, I'm really excited about that one, because we're going to talk about the different type of roles that women held in Mesoamerica, right, in the 14th and 15th century. Yes, Shoshiwa, thank you. Roles, wars, and worlds. Yes. So we're going to get into how our ancestors navigated, and this is my particular favorite one, because we're going to get into all that, right? We're going to talk about women warriors, and I'm going to show you from the archive where our abuelas have been found, right? I'm going to show you the problematic aspect of history and how it silences those voices and experiences of our ancestors, which is why I'm teaching this class, right? Because in my thesis work, I actually have studied women of Mesoamerica for a long time, and I came across that there's a limitation, there's an overlooking, there's a minimizing of indigenous women of Mesoamerica in the archive. And then that's Women of Mesoamerica. I'm teaching that the first 3 Saturdays of December. You must register. Try to register now. Please try to register now. It's gonna fill up. Not only that, this is what I'm excited about. When you register for my class, Women of Mesoamerica, I will personally make and send you a tote bag of a powerful image of our abuelas of Mesoamerica. I haven't decided which image I'm going to use, but it's going to be a bomb-ass image. Just know that. It's going to be a bomb-ass image. You get a tote bag free for being part of that class. Why? Because I'm fucking excited about that class, because that's my biggest passion in life, and that's what I've been studying for 20 years, and I'm finally doing it. So it's a way to celebrate. It's a way for you to represent. It's a way for you to express yourself in a tote bag. And then lastly, I'm teaching Decolonial History of Mexico. That class is going to be 4 Wednesdays. The first 4 Wednesdays of December, I'm teaching Decolonial History of Mexico. This I feel very comfortable with, because that's what I've been studying, right? As a Mexican, I am read by the system of nations as Mexican. I identify as indigenous, but in this system, that's what I know. That's how I'm read in the system. So in this class, okay, so the classes that I'm talking about are the classes that I created. I am an autonomous professor. Go to my link tree here on TikTok, and you'll see the different classes. Right now I'm talking about the second class. So I'm teaching Women of Mesoamerica, first 3 Saturdays of December, 12 to 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then right now, I'm talking about Decolonial History of Mexico, which I'm going to be teaching the first 4 Wednesdays of December. And it's Decolonial History of Mexico. It's so much to unpack. Oh my goodness. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, okay, how I have the syllabus. So the syllabus is basically class number 1 for Decolonial History of Mexico. We're going to get into the civilizations of Mexico, right? Just like a summary of the civilizations of Mexico. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Olmeca. We're going to get into, no, they were not African. No, they were not black. No, our ancestors were not given civilizations by the Mayans, by, Atlantis. We're going to get into all that. Okay, a general summary of the civilizations of Mexico. Really important to understand. Class 2, I think we're going to get into the Mexica history or Mexica society or the Valley of Mexico, which is really, really important. And we're going to also get into rethinking the Spanish conquest. So fucking powerful. Okay, this is absolutely powerful. In the last 2 years, I have completely relearned new interpretations of the so-called Spanish conquest of Mexico. And I'm sharing that with you. And number 4, we're going to get into the creation of Mexico. What did that look like? How does mestizaje have a lot to do with the creation of Mexico? And how that model of nationhood has been sustained through white supremacy and racism in Mexico since its creation of 1821, right? So those are the 4 things we're gonna explore in the decolonial history of Mexico. The civilizations of Mexico. We're gonna get into the Mexica society and the so-called Mesoamerica. We're gonna get into rethinking the Spanish conquest. Rethinking, right? Again, rethinking. I have been challenged. I've had to really go back and educate myself on the Spanish conquest, because recently in the last 2 years I have been obsessed with studying, learning about these new historians and linguists of Mexico who are indigenous, who are really saying fuck all that colonial shit, fuck all that Spain centralizing narrative. This is a narrative that we have to explore, which is indigenizing, which is centralizing indigenous perspectives of Mexico. So that's what we're getting into, right? Super, super important. And the last class of decolonial history of Mexico is going to be creating Mexico. What did that look like? Who was silenced? Who was glamorized? Who was recategorized? Who was redefined, right? What power structures were created to create this illusion of this Mexican nationhood that made everyone equal? Equal to who? Equal to what? Under what colonial, what colonial factors were used to make this new so-called narrative a reality, right? So that's what we're going to get into. You're very welcome. So I wanted to let everyone know the last 4 things I have for this year. Oh, and by the way, I am working on my second poetry book, which I'm fucking excited about. So please, 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 check it out. Okay, check it out. If you don't know me, my name is Citlali. I am a historian, poet, activist. I've been on this journey of learning my history, what today people call decolonization. Back when I started, it wasn't called decolonization. It was just called learning your fucking history. Anyway, so I use social media to radicalize, educate, and empower my people. And I am trying to democratize education, which is why I bring you everything that I have learned. And let me tell you, academia has not given me the information that I wanted to obtain. The information, the knowledge that I present to you in my classes did not come from academia. I finished my degrees late, right? In my 30s, I finished my degrees, right? It took me a long time to finish my degrees because of my activism, because I've been on my own financially. There's so much shit that I had to get to before I could do this, right? So when I finally transferred, I went to UCLA College. When I finally transferred to Cal State LA and I did my program, I finished my undergraduate in 1 year. Okay, I was like, I'm here to get done. I'm done with this shit. Let's go. So I finished my undergraduate degree in 1 year. And then I started my graduate degree and I finished that in about 3 years. So what I'm presenting to you is a mixture of the learning that I've had for decades, right? The stuff I've learned, self-education through elders, to different circles. And then what I learned in academia. So what I say is 80% of the information that I present came from my stuff, right? Came from my knowledge, came from learning through elders, from my own self-education. The 20% comes from academia. And to this day, academia continues to fail because it continues to not offer this information, right? So that's what I tell people. Not what I teach is beyond college education, right? Because people are like, oh, college is like, no, I'm not teaching you college education. I'm teaching you indigenous decolonial education that I went through 25 years to obtain, right? You're not going to learn what I'm teaching you in a college course. It just doesn't happen, right? I've had professors and chair people tell me, fuck, what you're doing, we're not even doing in academia, right? And I'm like, exactly. Now, I started these courses. I teach private courses because when the pandemic hit, I was pregnant. I had just finished my internship for teaching community college, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna get hired. There's a freeze. So before going back to work, I was like, I need to start teaching, right? Because this is happening. So I decided to create my own courses, right? Why teach at a university? There's so much shit going on over there. I need to get fed. I need to feed my baby, right? I need to contribute to my family. So I created private courses where I get to teach and do what I've been trained to do, what I have been dreaming to do for a long time. I get to do it as an autonomous professor. And I'm putting together these courses that are 3 to 5 weeks long, talking about different topics of our history. And I teach it in a way that I hope energizes you, inspires you, educates you, and motivates you to keep going, right? Not just what I'm teaching you, but I hope that you take this knowledge and you continue, right? Because what I teach, and I tell you this, like I tell my students from the get-go, I don't know everything. I claim to know everything. But what I do know is here. This is the knowledge I have. Check out the sources. This is where I get it from. This is how I drew my conclusions. This is how my mind worked to draw this conclusion, right? And I present that to you in multimedia with images, with videos, and basically the classes, this is what I'm really excited about. So I teach for an hour, right? It's an hour. I record the hour lecture. I use slides. I record the lecture in case you miss my class. I email you that recording so you can catch up. You have it for 7 days. And then the 30 minutes that follows, because the classes are an hour and a half once a week, the recording of the discussion, I do not record. I don't record the discussion because, number one, you know, there's a really, really intimate spaces that I'm creating, and there's a sacred space there. And I don't want people to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being recorded. Like, oh, hell no. Like, I don't like speaking and sharing shit that's really intimate to me if I know it's being recorded. Like, fuck that, right? So what I try to do is in my classes, the hour of presentation that I give, I record so that students miss, no problem. Here's a recording, check it out. As soon as the lecture is done, I stop the recording and we have a 30-minute discussion. And let me tell you, these discussions are powerful. Yes, we talk about what I talked about in the class, right, in the presentation. But in learning your history, it unlocks so many experiences. It unlocks so many thoughts, right, that shit's intense, right? Shit's intense. So that's why I do not record the conversations, right? Because people are building community in my classes. People are talking about things that they haven't talked about before, or they're being, you know, these memories are coming to them and they're sharing very sacred information. And that's valuable to me. That's sacred to me, which is why I do not record the discussion. So the structure of my class is 1 hour recorded lecture, followed by a 30-minute unrecorded discussion among us, right? And there's a prompt questions that I do propose. I propose like two questions at the end, and then whoever wants to answer it, right? Sometimes people answer, sometimes people have a reflection or question about the material. And every week I send you, right? This is what I do for my students. every week at the end of the class, I send them all the links and all the references that I gave in that particular class, right? Because you'll see me use multimedia. I'll use videos from YouTube. I'll use articles that I come across. And that's a resource that you're going to be getting every week. Every week, whatever topic, whatever class we talked about, you will get a list of those references and of those resources for free. Okay? All right, I gotta go now. I hope I have informed you. I hope you found this useful. I hope you sign up for my classes. You know, I'm really excited. This is part of one of my dreams was to teach, and I am now teaching, and it feels amazing to teach my people knowledge that I have obtained, knowledge that I continue to research, and to see people's reaction, to see people, you know, really appreciating it and be like, fuck, you know, like making it accessible to everyone, because not everyone goes to college, and they're not going to get this shit in college, let me tell you. And two, I want everyone who cares to know this, right? Which is why I created these courses. And I do teach, remember, I teach a free class on YouTube. Every month I teach a live class on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. That's every month. And then I have my private courses for those people that want to share more intensely in a more intimate way, in a way that you can build community and actually have dialogue and follow up with me and the rest of the students. That's why I created my autonomous courses, which is called E-DECOLONIZE. And don't forget, I'm going to repeat it one last time. 4 things coming by the end of this year. I have November 14, Sunday, November 14. I have my free class, E-DECOLONIZE, on YouTube. You don't have to register. Just look for my channel, Mexican Excellence. And I have a guest, Rariz Leon. She will be giving us an introduction to Taino history. That's happening Sunday, November 14 at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Then I have a private workshop, November 20. November 20 is a private workshop that you can sign up for through my Linktree on Activism 101, how to organize without machismo and ego tripping. You know, egos like self-centered people. That's going to be from 12 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And lastly, I'm teaching 2 classes in December for my E-DECOLONIZE private courses that you have to register for. You have to submit your donation fee before the class. Okay, the 2 classes are Women of Mesoamerica. I'm going to be teaching that the first 3 Saturdays of December. And I'm going to be teaching Decolonial History of Mexico. I'm going to be teaching that the first 4 Wednesdays of December. Okay, so that is part of what I do. Check out the rest of my videos here on TikTok. What I'm trying to do is share information with y'all to help you better understand your history, the time and space in which we are sharing right now with each other, and how do we continue to resist erasure as Indigenous people? How do we continue to honor our ancestors? How do we continue to thrive under these systems of white supremacy and be unapologetic for being Indigenous, whether you know your tribe, nation, or not? That does not rob you from being native, from being Indigenous. Colonization, do not forget, colonization has impacted all of us differently. Even the way we've experienced colonization has not been a homogenized experience, right? So try to remember that. Be gentle with yourself. Be graceful with yourself. Okay, take your time in decolonizing. Don't let people gaslight you. Don't let the decolonial police come and try to check you like, you're not decolonizing, you're not doing this, you're not decolonized. I'm so fucking sick and tired of those people. Like, oh my gosh. So yes, feel empowered. Feel empowered. Know that every day that you are alive, we are resisting genocide and erasure. Know that every day that you are being unapologetic for being an Indigenous person, whether you know your tribe, nation, or not, You are honoring your ancestors. Remember that many of our ancestors could not practice their traditions. Many of our ancestors were shamed out of reclaiming who they were. They were told not to be indigenous. They were told to stop speaking their languages. Okay, so remember that. Remember that. Remember those ancestors when you're learning your history, when you're learning an indigenous language, when you're walking on this land. Try to be conscious of that. Try to be conscious of the fact that you are living in a moment that is honoring our ancestors, especially these Días de los Muertos, días de what we're going through right now. I hope that you have that awareness in your mind, and that you honor yourself, you honor your ancestors, and that you remind yourself and empower yourself that you are indigenous, that you are native, whether or not you know your nation or tribe. Because remember, part of colonization was to strip us from nations and tribes, was to detribalize us, was to disconnect us from our nations and tribes. And that happened to a lot of our ancestors. Okay, so please be very gentle with yourself in your decolonial process and journey, and don't let anybody rob you of that humanity. The humanity to reclaim who you are, the humanity to take pride in who you are, the humanity to heal centuries. We're healing centuries of colonial traumas with resilience and with power. Remember that. The more unapologetic you are, the more loving of yourself that you are, the more embracing you are and understanding you are of yourself. You're doing that for our ancestors that could not. Even knowing this knowledge, being able to contemplate this is a privilege that many of our ancestors did not get. So remember that. All right? All right, everybody. Ya me voy. This is Citlali from Mexican Excellence. You can find me on YouTube, on Instagram. Don't forget about my classes. Do not forget to check out my link tree for more information. This is extremely important information. Again, I'm an autonomous professor. I'm teaching these courses for free and for a fee. There's two, whatever you're interested in. All right, everybody, much love to y'all. May the ancestors continue to guide us and hold us up. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night.